you, but I almost feel now because there is so much unwillingness to speak candidly about this, not this incident necessarily in exclusion, but more generally about this, that actually people are not talking frankly about it. And I have a sneaking suspicion, perhaps you do too, that not a small number of people, perhaps hundreds of thousands of people in the sort of the equestrian world in the UK, they've seen this video and they've thought as you have, oh, crikey, it's not great, she's lost her temper. But it's out of all proportion with the ensuing hue and cry from Packham, the BBC presenter, from the RSPCA who then get involved, and then the police who are threatening to get involved. And, you know, if they've got inquiries to get to the bottom of, let them do it, of course. But we end up with what feels like a witch hunt, and a primary school teacher reportedly going into hiding, facing death threats. I mean, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Colin, I mean, what's interesting was when I first saw this on social media a couple of days ago, my first reaction was one of anger, you know, that this woman had lost her temper and was ill-treating a horse. And, you know, I didn't have any sympathy for her at all. In the last few days, I've learned more about the case. I mean, I think the story is much more complex than that. And actually, it's almost a bigger story, really, frankly, than a woman slapping a horse. Is that, you know, there's now a young family who've had to leave their home. I understand that the school where she works has received all sorts of threats. Not just that, another school in the local area, some of these vigilantes have clearly got the wrong school, is also receiving a lot of abuse. And so you've got a local rural community there in Leicestershire, which is feeling rather under siege as a result of this. And I think Chris Packham actually really needs to be more careful. I mean, he clearly feels strongly about this. I understand that. He could have emailed the RSPCA. He didn't need to put it on social media in the way that he did, which clearly, whether it was his intent or not, has created this Twitter storm, and worse than that, this witch hunt. You know, she is now, I understand, very frightened. Her children are very frightened and traumatized by this. She's, I gather, mortified by what she did, apparently completely out of character. She's a really highly regarded school teacher. And I think it as you already said, it serves to underline this growing gap between people mostly in towns and people in the countryside, and this awful business we've got of vigilantes going out into the countryside and really seizing the moral high ground and then using it as an opportunity to terrorize people who, after all, we're going about their lawful business. Trail hunting is legal. You know, it's a family something that is done by families with children, and it's just I think something. There have already been some terrible incidents, people getting hurt, and this sort of witch hunt is not helping.